So I uploaded a video of the building that you see in your shot on my YouTube channel, and I got a lot of, chats, WhatsApp messages asking for the estimate. Indeed, I had promised in the video that I was going to share the estimate with you. So I'm going to go into the detailed estimate. I have the summary here, but before I get into the summary, I would take you through some images here. Typically, we'll start the project off with some excavation works, but before the excavation works, we would have to grid the land. We have to clear and level the land. So this one will come with a cost. After that, we do the excavation. We pour what we call blinding. So this is the excavation that you see. After the excavation works, we'll pour some concrete in the holes, and then we'll lay the blocks that you see in your shots. After the blocks that you see in your shots, we would cast all the pillars. So I don't want to bore you with a lot of these details. Let's get into it. So typically we'll start by getting a trip of sand, a trip of stones. We'll buy some wood for the profiling. We'll buy some pickaxe, shovel, wheelbarrows that you can estimate to be about $800, which is 13,000 cedis. And as I indicated, you are going to grid the land, very important, so that you get all your settings right. And there is a permit fee that you pay to the building authorities. So that is the assembly guys. And depending on where you are in the world, in my country, there are land guards everywhere. So before you start your building project, they are at your doorstep. The moment they see you with tools digging, they will come and collect what they call digging fee. So that you have to budget for. I have 2,000 cedis for them. Then we have the profiling of the building. So this is where we set all the lines and say that, okay, this one, these are the lines, this is where the blocks are going to pass. As you can see, okay, there's a block here, there's a block here, there's a block there. That is the profiling. Then after the profiling, we have the excavation works. So this is where we dig the foundation itself. Now, one important thing I always emphasize is if you do your excavation works and the land is clay, please clear all the clay from the site. If you look at your architectural drawing, you would find that in there, that the architect is saying if the soil is clay, please clear it from the site. So the ground preparation works is going to take us about 23,000 Ghana cedis to do, which is about $1,400. So we are building the estimate. I'll give you a very good summary of this. Now, after that, you go to the footing work. So the footing work, we start with the blinding of the foundation. So the blinding of the foundation, after the excavation works are done, let me just take you there. So after the excavation works, you've dug the trenches. You pour concrete in the holes before you lay the blocks. So these blocks that you see are sitting on top of some concrete we call blinding. That has to be done first before you can lay the blocks that you see in your shots. So once that one is done, then you can go ahead and then lay your blocks. Now the blinding, you would need some cement for the blinding. As I mentioned to you, is concrete, but the sand and the stones, you have already bought them from the startup materials that you see at the top there. You have bought your sand and then the stones. So you would use that to do your blinding works. And then you will need some iron rods. If you look at the image that I showed you, you see we have some iron rods in there. So this is the foundation that we just did. So this is the footing. We call this the footing works. So the footing works, you will need to put iron rods in there. So that comes with cost, and that is 10,000 Ghana cedis. A ton of iron rods is 9,200, but you buy some 12 and it's a mixture of 12 and 16 The 16 is what we use for the columns. The 12 is what we used for the mats. The mat, you see mat in there. Then we buy 10 for the rings. So the rings will be 10 So let me take you to the image again. So now here you see that there are rings on the columns that you see. And if you look at the bars, they are all 6. This column is 16 The column that you see is 16 and then we use the columns that you see sit on something we call mat, and then the rings around it, which is 10 mm. So we continue with the foundation. Then the steel bender will charge you for forming those columns for you. And then your contractor will go on site and go and set all the pillars. And the pillars, some of them have to be positioned horizontally, some of them have to be positioned vertically. So that will be done. Of course, you will incur some transport and water charges, so you have to factor that in. So that stage, up to the time you finish the footing works, we are looking at about $1,400 for this footing works. So we go back here. Then you now do the foundation. So which is, of course, the blocks that you see in the footing work. That is what I mean. So these blocks that you see is part of the footing works. So you buy some 1,200 blocks for the structure that I showed you. The for this building, the blocks that you buy. Now, one thing that I want you to pay attention to when it comes to the block work for the footing is the height of the foundation. It's very important that you raise your building at least 4 or 5 blocks above the ground. Now look at this footing. If you look at where the land is and the number of blocks above it, you see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 plus a half block, because that is the porch area. So it is important, and 4 blocks, 4 cores gives you about 3 feet. This is even before the casting of the foundation will come. It's very, very important. Some people do foundation and they just do 2 cores above the ground level. It's not good at all, because you don't know how in the future the road is going to be done, how the shape is going to be, whatever is going to happen. Before you realize, your building has just sunk and you are always grappling with flooding issues. So we always recommend that your building is at least 3 to 4 feet above the ground level or above the road. Is very, very important. So once that one is done, you incur some cost to lay the blocks, because of course the blocks have to be laid. It is not for free. So these blocks that have to be laid, you pay for them. That is here. Then we have the after the block work is done, we have about $1,400 for that. Then we go to the casting of the foundation pillars. So again, we go back to the image. You see that we have formed some woodwork around the foundation. Those pillars that you have put in the block work, you have to cast them. As you can see, there are some without. If you look at the ones on your right or the far corner, you see that they are without formwork. So that's how it is until you form the woodwork and you cast all the pillars. So the cost of that is also there. We call it casting of foundation pillars. So I'm giving you the detailed breakdown. So that should be about 8,000 Ghana cedis. Then after you have casted this foundation, you are going to fill the holes that are in there. So these spaces that you see in the building, you fill it with gravels. Remember, I told you. Now look at this side. You see that if you look at the holes, you see that we have cleared the clay from the side. So there's no soil there. Whatever we dug from this land, we have cleared everything from the site to somewhere, and that comes with cost. That's clearing of clay from the site. It is in the estimate. Where is that one? After the excavation works, okay, it is right here. Clearing of clay from the site, if only the soil is clay. Now then you cast the foundation pillars. From this image, you have to form the woodwork, pour some concrete in there. Because you have bought sand and stones already, you don't have to buy again. What you have bought is what you will use. And the wood you bought at the beginning, remember we bought some wood here, 3,000 Ghana cedis. It is the same wood we are going to use to do this. Then after that, we are going to cast. So we are going to do the filling. So this is after the filling works. So this is the filling we have done. We are done. After this stage, as you can see, the iron rods is 16 mm and 6 bars. Those of you who have been doing building projects and use only 4 bars, please stop. It is not good, especially story buildings. It is not good to use 4 bars for a story building. It's best to use 6, because the extra cost is not that much. It's not really significant. So please, if you want to do a story building, try to use 6 bars. Now look at the soil here. This is gravels. It is not clay. You can see from the texture of the what we have poured there. So we have filled the footing. After you do this filling, now look at the cost associated with the filling. It's here. Filling of foundation. So it is gravels. We bought 8 trips. One trip is between 1,500 to 2,000, depending on where you stay. And the trucks will just come and offload, and you have to hire people to do the filling for you. That cost is well covered. So we have 20,000 cedis for the filling. Then you cast your foundation. Now after the filling, before we cast the foundation, the plumber will come and insert some pipes and what have you. Now here, let me stress this. Here, when you are laying your pipes, please, if you can, buy pressure pipes and use PPR as well, the green ones. Don't go and buy cheap ones. Buy pressure pipes. It will serve you very well. Buy pressure pipes and then the PPR pipes, and you of course you pay the plumber for laying all those pipes. Then after that, we cast our foundation. So casting of the foundation, that stage you will need an extra trip of sand and an extra trip of stones, because you have used most of the sand to do your block work and what have you. And the number of cement bags that you will need about 100 bags of cement to cast it. So we have the subtotal there. Then in building is like doing a wedding, in fact, or a funeral. There are things you will not even think of, but on the D-Day, those things will come up. So you have to have some contingency in there, and then supervision, what you pay to the foreman. This depends. Some of the estimates has built in the cost of the foreman already. So we are looking at about $10,000 for our foundation. This one is using a rate of 15.5 for those of you abroad, using a rate of 15.5. So typically in my part of the world, when you are doing your foundation, you'll probably spend about $10,000, which today is about 150 or 160,000 Ghana cedis. Now this one, I must emphasize this, because some of the clients that we have worked for, there are some people you send them estimates, they say it's high. This one, you have to remember that the height of the footing plays a key role. The height of the footing plays a key role. Look at this. Somebody will do a foundation and it's just 2 blocks above the ground level. So the cost will not be the same as doing a footing that is 4 or 5 course above the ground level. So it is important that we pay attention to that. So when somebody send you an estimate, ask the person, how many feet or how many blocks are you going to lay above the ground level? That will inform what goes into the estimate. And then also, it will also affect the filling that you are going to do, because the deeper the spaces that you have, the more filling that you have to do, and it informs. But for a quality job that is well above the ground level, a good foundation height, a good column where you have 16 mm 6 bars for each one of them, then at least as I have indicated here, 160,000 Ghana cedis will do it for you, which is about $10,000. Now after this stage, where do we go next? We have cast our foundation. This is it. We have cast the concrete. We go to the block laying. For the first floor, we go to the block laying. Have you seen the height of the foundation? Look at the height of this building. You can see how high it is, and that saves you from a lot of struggles in the future. Your sewage and what have you, it saves you from them. So now we go to the block work, as you see in your shot, and then as you see here. So we are doing the block work. Now this block work, we are done with the foundation. So we'll go to the main building. We'll buy about 2,500 blocks. They are here. The cement, you will need some cement to lay the blocks, and then the labor for the block work plus sand. So that should cost you about 47,000, which is about $3,000. Then you will cast the pillars, as you can see in the image. After the block work, after you are done with this block work, you are going to put pillars in there, and you cast all the pillars as you have seen. We've casted all these pillars. You can see these were projected pillars. Now we'll come back to the estimate. for the ground floor. So the main building, we are going to buy iron rods. You saw iron rods in your shot. The steel bender you will pay, the cement for the casting of the pillars, the labor for the casting of the pillars, the carpenter, the woodwork. This should be about 21,000 cedis. Again, I have mentioned you always have to put contingency in there and then supervision. So that should, the ground floor should cost you about 83,000, which is about $5,000. So by the time you are done with your ground floor, you would have spent about $15,000. Then we go to the decking. The decking of the ground floor. Do I have an image here? So, okay, this is the main building, but before you go to the second floor, you will deck it. You will do a concrete floor. Now, the concrete floor, the budget here is 190,000 Ghana cedis, which is about $12,000. Now, what do you need? The concrete floor, you will buy iron rods. You will need about 6 tons of iron rods to do a quality job for this kind of structure. This kind of structure, you need about 6 tons to do a very good job. 16 mm, you use 6 bars. I've told you, when you are doing your beams, when you are doing your columns, 16 mm, 6 bars, you don't compromise on that. The steel bender will charge you about 15,000 cedis to do that work. Then we have the wood or the materials that you buy. This is one of the costs that is so difficult to bear, bear about 40,000. But if you are lucky, you can get some wood to rent and it will reduce the cost. But after you finish, you can also sell some of the wood. You use some to do the top, but you have to budget at least 40,000 for the wood. You have to budget about 17,000 for the carpenter that is going to do the form work for you. Very important. Then the plumber will also come and lay some pipes. Before you do the decking, the plumber will lay some pipes. I'm going to do a video on decking alone for you. I have some video. There are some things that we all need to understand. It's very important. Then there will be some electrical pipes. Then the labor for the casting of the concrete also will be there. You need about you spend about 10,000 on labor. Then cement for the concrete works. In fact, to do a good decking, you need about 170 bags for this kind of building that you see. You need about 170 bags to do the concrete flooring. And then you have 2,000 cedis for water transport and others. You buy a trip of sand and a trip of stones and then contingency. So about 190,000 can do a quality, top quality decking for you. Then we come to the main building, the first floor. So now we are done with the ground floor works. We come to the first floor. So the first floor, what are the key things that we need to cover? We are going to buy blocks, about 3,000 blocks. Now here the blocks are more than the ground floor because this one we have to, after the lintel level, we have to lay the continuing blocks and then pick our height, what have you, the roofing, take care of all the things that will come there. Then the cement for the blocks, about 75 bags. Now there's something that I want you to understand here. The price of cement has gone up. It's now about 125. If I had my own way, I would recommend, advise that as much as possible, if you can use 42.5 throughout your construction, use it instead of the 32.5. The 42.5 is stronger, is better. It gives you a bit more. Even though it's 125, it gives you a better quality work. Even though most people use 32.5 for the block work, but if you can use 42.5 throughout, use it. Let me mention, before I go on, let me mention something here. When you start your building project, the foundation, all the sand you buy should be rough. All the sand. This is something I have to stress on. I've seen a lot of people abusing. Sometimes they say medium or what have you. If you can get river sand where you are, fine. If you cannot get, make sure you use only rough sand for your foundation. The only time that the medium will come in is when you are doing your plastering work, like what we have done here. But throughout the process, everything should be rough sand. So when you call your tipper trucks and you want sand, please ask them to bring you rough sand. So we go back to the main building. So we have the labor. Now the masons, they charge 200. The laborers also charge almost the same. So that's block work side will cost you about 56,000. Then after that, you will cast the pillars again. So at the top level, you are going to cast additional pillars. So that side will cost about 25,000. Then we go to the lintel beams. So there are beams that we are going to put on the windows and the doors. We cast that one before we continue. So that you have to budget about 20,000 for that. If you look at the estimate I have here, if you see that the main building I didn't put any wood there, and the reason is simple. There's no wood there because we already have some wood that we use for the decking. So you leverage on that wood and do your pillars. Then after that, you come to the beams. We have that here, the lintel beams. Then you continue with the block work. It's already been factored in here and prepare it for the roofing. So again, contingency and then the supervision. So that sets you back 112,000 Ghana cedis. After that, you are ready to do your roofing. How much will cost you to do your roofing? So let's look at the summary. The foundation, we said 159,000. That's about $10,000. The ground floor block work should be about 83,000 Ghana cedis, about $5,000. The concrete decking about 190,000, $12,000. The first floor column, the lintel beams and what have you, everything about 112,000 Ghana cedis. And then roofing. The roofing, you can use trusses if you want to. I had image of the trusses. I think I've taken it off, but you can use the trusses for the roofing. Is good. And then the roofing sheet and the installation about 40,000 for that kind of structure. That is hidden roof. If it is the traditional roof, you may have to add some extra 20,000 to 30,000 for the traditional roof. So with about $40,000, we can do our structure. Somebody was asking me for estimate for the finishing. The last time that I shared a video like this about 2 years ago, there was a request for the finishing. Now, so I have a bit of that I'm going to share with you. So for now, we have 615,000 Ghana cedis, and then how much here? About $40,000. That is using a rate of 15.5, depending on where the rates get to. I think the last estimate I shared about 2 years ago was just about $40,000. So in terms of dollars, it hasn't really gone up that much. But then this is what we have. So I'm not going to bore you with a lot of details when it comes to finishing. I always say finishing is according to taste. But typically for your plastering and dressing of the windows, beams and columns, you can budget about 70,000 Ghana cedis. For your burglar proof, you can budget about 30,000 Ghana cedis. For your sliding windows, you can budget about 60,000 Ghana cedis. For the wall skimming, the white one, the POP wall skimming, you can budget 30,000 cedis. Then the POP and the TNG, I've just put 30,000 here, but you know, POP, we have different styles, different designs. Somebody will go for something very wild and may end up spending like 60, 80, even 100,000 Ghana cedis. Some people like nice things and if only you can afford, but this should be able to get you something decent. The plumbing works, again, it depends on your taste. Some WCs will cost you like 2,000 cedis, some will cost you 5,000 cedis. So it all depends. The electrical works is there. You have to think of your kitchen cabinet. The kitchen cabinet can range from anywhere between 20 to 100,000. Again, depends on your taste. Same with the wardrobes. The manhole, you have to fix your manhole. You have main gate and an installation of the main gate. You have your tiling works that you have to do, beautiful tiles. I'm going to share more details on this. The doors and the frames, your fence wall, your electric wire on the fence. So the small tips will not come and disturb you that much. The painting works. If you have about 700,000 cedis, you can do a very decent finishing. And of course, so with about 80 to $90,000, you can have a beautiful 5-bedroom house and with a very nice finishing. Please, the estimate that I have here doesn't include finishing. There's a difference between finishing and finishing. The finishing is what you see. The finishing is when you buy your furniture, you buy your bed, and what have you. Those things that, I mean, of course, you have to sit on a furniture, you have to sleep on a bed. So those ones are the furnishing things, the lighting system and what have you. So there are also those ones that you have to take care of. So for those that requested for the estimate of this building project in your short, please, you can look at what I have shared with you. So that building you see in your shot, we have gone beyond just the first stage. We have started the finishing works. Of course, as you can see, we have done the plastering works. So that's the estimate. We have done the burglar proof. The sliding window is ongoing. The wall skimming is yet to start, but some plumbing works have been done. Some electrical works have been done. Please, I left out the air condition. That is why I said I'll come back to the finishing later, but this gives you a very good idea. You can budget another 80 to 100,000 cedis for air condition. So I'm going to share another estimate with you on the finishing, but this gives you a very good guide. Probably what is not here is the air condition, which you have to factor in the building project. And so my next finishing video will talk about that one. Thank you, and please, if you can subscribe for us, we'll be very happy. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video.